Hey everyone! Today we're going to be talking about Antigone for Violin 1. This is quite a difficult piece, so we'll split this video into the breakdown, where we talk about the difficult passages, and then the play along at the end, where we play together to a click, a quarter note equals 120. Before we get started, let's talk about the key signature of the piece. This piece is in D minor, meaning there's one flat, B flat, throughout most of the piece. There are two sections of different tempos. The first section is quarter note equals 120, and then the slow section is quarter note equals 60, basically half the speed that you were playing at before. This will bring you back to the main section again, where you'll play at quarter note equals 120. Now let's talk about the form. There's quite a little bit of a tricky roadmap here, so stay with me. You're going to play from the beginning as it comes to the end of 105. At the end of measure 105, you'll see what's known as a del segno al coda. So DS al coda. This will bring you back to measure 22. So once you're at the end of 105, go to 22 and play from there. You'll play from 22 all the way to the coda symbol at the end of measure 60. Once you hit that symbol, you go all the way to the end when you see the coda at 106 and finish from there. So let's take a look at measures 34 to 37. Those four measures will be in second position. Second position is between first and third position. It may not feel so much different because it's only one note off from first position. So if you look at the first note in 34, you have an A on E string. Usually we would be using third finger in first position, but now we're using second finger in second position. Let's play that together slowly. 3, 4, 1. Now let's take a look at measures 47 through 49. Here you'll be using a little bit of half position. Basically the lowest position we can play on our instrument, lower than the first position. So place your hand slightly behind first position towards the nut of the instrument, away from you. Now let's play 47 through 49 slowly under tempo. 3, 4, 1. Basically, the first two beats that you have, beats 2 and 3 in measure 47, are in first position. Then you will slide your hand back into half position, and this allows you to play those half steps, F sharp and F natural, without sliding your first finger around. The new fingering will be 2, 1, 2, 1. Another place where that half position comes up is measure 71, the 6/4 bar in our slow tempo. Here you basically have a B natural on the G string, a note we would usually play with our second finger, but this time we'll play with our third finger as our hand is in half position and it's lower now. Let's play that 6/4 measure slowly. 5, 6. So notice how beats 4 and 5 are the only notes in half position, and everything else is in first position. Last thing we want to take a look at is in the coda at the very end of the piece, measure 115 will be in fourth position. This might be the easiest of all because you'll already be in third position for the three measures before that, on that A with your first finger. But after that, all you have to do is reach your fourth finger a little bit higher, a half step higher than D, which is our usual third position note, to reach that E flat in fourth position. And then you'll stay there for one measure before you go down to first position in 116. Let's start at 114, where we can prepare that third position A tremolo so that we can easily access fourth position in 115. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Notice how my hand doesn't really shift when I'm changing from 114 to 115, but my fourth finger and my third finger are stretched a little bit higher than I would usually be in third position to get to that fourth position. Once I'm in 116, right at the downbeat, I'm shifting back with my fourth finger back into first position. So the next thing we're going to cover It's basically the 16th-note passages of this piece, as well as double stops. Luckily, most of the double stops in this piece are played with an open A string on the bottom. So before we play anything from the actual piece, let's just warm up on our A and E string together using some simple rhythms like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. This will prepare us for passages like 25, 27, 29, where you have running 16th notes with open A string on the bottom. You'll basically be playing that open A for most of the time, with the exception of when you're playing the D on the A string at the top. I've crossed out those notes on the bottom, so feel free to leave those out and play the open A on every other note. Let's try a little bit from measure 25. 1, 2, 3, 4. Besides double stops, you'll also have moments where the music is marked Divisi. That means you won't be playing those two notes together, but you'll be splitting the top and bottom notes. So right now, I'll focus on measure 50 and 51, our Divisi part, and I'll play the top and bottom part separately. But in the play-along video, I'll only be playing the parts at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. Now let's take a look at some of the difficult passages for running 16 notes. Passages like measure 3 at the very top of the piece are quite difficult. You have 2 beats of 16 notes and 2 beats of 8 notes. I would encourage to practice them separately. So let's start with the 8 notes. 3, 4, 1, 2. Now let's play the 16 notes of measure 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you notice in this piece, there are a lot of harmonic D minor scales where you'll have C sharp back to back with a B flat. This may be a little bit tricky, but it adds a nice flavor to the piece, so practice with your intonation correct. So practice slowly and work on your intonation with those passages. Let's play the whole measure in measure 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another difficult 16th-note passage you may want to look at slowly is measure 56. Here you have G sharp with an F flat, so keep your 2 low and keep your 3 high on the D string. Here's measure 56. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Last but not least, let's take a look at measure 101. Here you not only have 16 notes, but you also have some tricky bowings that we're going to look into. So let's play this together slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. For all of these passages, I usually like to do what I call the Lego method, where I build from the very end of the measure backwards towards the beginning. I'll show you how that's done with measure 101. And here, let's start with beat 4. Beat 4, you have 2 slurs on 16 notes. 4, 3, 2, 1 basically is your fingering starting from B flat. So let's start with the last beat. 1, 2, 3. Let's play that same thing a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3. Once you're comfortable, then we move backwards. With the Lego method, we're going to start on beat 3 now and add beat 4 to that. I'll give you 2 empty beats. 1, 2. A little bit faster. 1, 2. Once you're comfortable and you can get that cleanly, let's go back and add the second beat. So now you only have one empty beat in front and you're playing beats 2, 3, and 4. Ready? And 1. Ready? And 1. And finally, let's put all of measure 101 together. By now, if you've been practicing with the Lego method, you should feel very confident, especially towards the end of the measure, since we played those notes the most. So let's play 101 slowly, under tempo. 3, 4. Same thing a little bit faster. 3, 4. Very last thing I want to take a look at are the last two measures of the piece. Here you have some double stop chords to finish the whole piece off, but instead of the open A and E, you're going to be focused on the lower strings. The most important thing is if you look at the very last measure, you're playing first finger A on the G string, and you're playing your open D along with it. This means that you have to leave enough space so that even if you're pressing the first finger down on the G string, your finger won't be in the way of the open D. So here's the last measure of the piece slowly. 3, 4. The same concept applies to the second to last measure, where in that second chord, you have first finger E on the D string and open A at the same time. So leave enough room, curve your finger, and form a nice space where both of the strings could ring at the same time.